It's all about an episode of The Best People with Nicolle Wallace. Features Kara Swisher, who's great, and it's hosted on the Podbean platform.
Right. And our goal here for this deep dive is to really go beyond just, reading the summary.
Yeah.
We want to pull out the real nuggets from this webpage, not just about the conversation itself, but what does the source tell us about the world this show lives in?
And the platform it's on.
Yeah.
What it reveals about podcasting right now.
Exactly.
And right off the bat, the episode they highlight looks like a big one. The Best People with Nicolle Wallace, Kara Swisher on Musk and the Megalomaniacs in charge. The source notes this one came out June 9th, 2025.
And what's interesting is how the source actually frames the guest, Kara Swisher.
Okay.
It describes her as a journalist, entrepreneur, longtime podcast host. And this seems key from the source. She understands the intersection between tech and media, wealth and power like no one else.
Okay, so that sets the stage.
It definitely sets the stage for the topics they say she covers in the episode.
Which, according to this source description, includes things like the art and intimacy of podcasting. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And also where she apparently takes no guff from, well, major tech titans like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
Right. Big names.
And it also mentions, and the source phrases it this way, the carnival barker Trump has always been.
Yes, the source is pretty direct there in describing the conversation's scope. It's clearly hitting on significant figures, dynamics in both tech and politics.
Definitely. And the source adds a few other details about this episode, too. It says it's available for download right there on the page.
Standard stuff.
Smike mentions there are 3 comments posted and points out you can listen early without ads if you have MSNBC Premium on Apple Podcasts.
Okay, so there's a monetization angle there, too, with the premium access.
So if we just look at that snapshot, the source gives us Swisher's background, these topics about tech leaders, political figures. What does that tell us? What kind of conversations are getting traction in podcasting based on this source?
Well, it really suggests that expertise right at that junction of big societal forces, technology, media, wealth, political power, it's highly valued.
Right.
The way the source describes Swisher, it highlights that these aren't just abstract ideas. They're personal, often contentious, involving these really powerful personalities.
Musk, Bezos, Trump, as mentioned in the source.
Exactly. The focus on individuals like that indicates listeners are drawn to analysis from someone, like Swisher is framed here, with inside knowledge. Someone willing to offer maybe strong perspectives on these influential figures and the systems they operate in.
So podcasting is a space for that direct commentary.
It seems so. Based on the source, it points to podcasting as a place where direct, expert commentary on the powerful is, well, expected and sought after.
Okay, so that's the content side as the source presents it. But this webpage, it is just about the episode.
No, it's on Podbean.
Exactly. It is the Podbean platform page. And the source actually spends a lot of time detailing Podbean's capabilities. Let's maybe shift gears and look at the engine. The thing making these conversations possible.
Absolutely. And the source gives us a really comprehensive look at what a modern podcasting platform like Podbean offers.
Yeah, it seems like a lot.
It starts with the basics, the essentials.
Yeah.
Core hosting, you get a full-featured podcast site, unlimited storage, and bandwidth.
Okay, table stakes these days, maybe.
Pretty much. Plus, comprehensive stats so creators know who's listening, and crucially, distribution. Getting the show onto Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the major places.
Right, that's the baseline.
That's the baseline.
But what's fascinating reading the source is how far beyond just hosting audio these platforms go now.
Oh, definitely.
The source lists a whole suite of monetization tools. There's an ads marketplace. Is that for sponsorships?
Yeah, connecting creators with sponsors. And then something called pod ads for dynamic ad insertion.
Dynamic ad insertion. Explain that a bit.
So think of it like this. Instead of the same ad being permanently baked into the audio file for everyone, forever.
Right.
The platform can swap ads in and out dynamically. So the ad you hear might change depending on when you download the episode or maybe where you are geographically.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It makes monetization much more flexible, more targeted for advertisers, potentially more lucrative for creators.
That sounds like a huge deal for creators trying to make a go of it.
It is. And the source also mentions integration with Apple Podcasts subscriptions.
So letting creators offer premium stuff, ad-free feeds.
Exactly. Bonus content, early access, ad-free listening, that kind of thing. Another income stream. And it even lists tools for live streaming.
Live podcasting.
Yeah, and earning rewards or income directly from listeners through things like a fan club feature mentioned in the source.
So moving towards more diverse ways for creators to earn money.
Right, not just relying on traditional ads. And then the source dives into the creation tools themselves, which are getting pretty advanced.
Like what?
It talks about using AI for enhanced audio quality.
Okay, cleaning up sound.
Yeah, noise reduction, leveling, that sort of thing. But also AI for content generation.
Whoa, AI generating content. What does the source suggest there? Is it writing scripts?
It doesn't get super specific, unfortunately, but mentioning content generation alongside audio enhancement suggests features that could maybe help automate tasks, perhaps generate draft show notes from the audio, or even help outline segments.
Huh. So technology helping streamline the creative side.
That's the idea it points towards.
Uh-huh.
And the source also lists some really cool repurposing features.
Repurposing?
Like converting blog posts into podcast episodes.
Oh, interesting.
Or turning YouTube videos, even whole playlists, into audio-only podcast episodes. Basically making it easier to take content you already have and get it into podcast format.
So you don't always have to start from pure audio scratch. That lowers the barrier.
Definitely. And of course, the source mentions recording tools too, like a specific podcast studio app and a group recording feature for interviews.
Making the actual recording part simpler, whether you're solo or have guests.
Yes, exactly. And finally, the source highlights the whole discovery and learning side of the platform.
Right, helping people find shows and helping creators learn.
Yep. There's a Discover section organized by tons of categories, arts, business, technology, but also true crime, history, science. It just shows the massive range of content.
A huge library.
Huge. And then resources for creators themselves. A help center, something called Podbean Academy, with guides on how to launch, grow, monetize.
Practical stuff.
Very practical. A blog with tips and trends and these specific popular topics listed out, like how to start, monetize, promote, advertising 101, even a mobile podcast recording guide.
It really feels like they're trying to cover the whole life cycle.
From the first idea to actually making it sustainable, that's what the source suggests Podbean aims for.
Okay, so let's try and bring it all back together now. We've looked at this specific high-profile conversation. The source highlights Kara Swisher on tech, power, politics. And then we dove into this, frankly, enormous list of platform features Podbean offers, according to the source. How do those two things connect? How does that sophisticated platform tech actually enable or maybe even influence the kind of conversation we see highlighted?
Well, that's the really fascinating connection, isn't it? The infrastructure that this webpage details. It's precisely what empowers individuals like Kara Swisher, framed here with her deep understanding of these complex areas, to reach a global audience directly.
Right, the distribution tool.
And sustainably. The monetization tools, the dynamic ads, the subscriptions, they mean it can actually be a viable business. It supports the time and effort needed for these in-depth discussions.
So the business side enables the deep content.
It certainly helps. And the distribution, the discovery features, they help those conversations find the people who want to hear them. Even the creation tools, things like mobile recording guides or potential AI assistants, they lower the barrier to entry and streamline production.
So it shows that the art and intimacy of podcasting that the source mentioned Swisher discusses. It doesn't just happen in a vacuum.
Not at all. It's supported, enabled, maybe even shaped by this really robust, technologically advanced business framework that the source lays out.
Understanding both sides, the compelling content, like these discussions on major figures, and the platform capabilities gives you, the listener, a much richer picture.
Exactly. It shows you the business models, the technologies, accessibility questions, all the things that shape the media you consume today, especially in podcasting.
Like seeing that detail from the source, the mobile podcast recording guide, right next to sophisticated tools for dynamic ad insertion.
Yeah, it perfectly illustrates that blend. Accessible, almost personal creation on one hand, and sophisticated, scalable business tools on the other. That kind of defines modern podcasting, as presented in this source.
Wow. This deep dive into just one web page, it really has revealed a lot of layers. How content gets made, shared, paid for today. We saw a glimpse of a really high-impact conversation, and then we sort of pulled back the curtain on the platform, the foundation beneath it.
And it's worth remembering, like you said, everything we discussed, all these features and topics came directly from the details provided in that single source you shared.
It's pretty incredible how much information is packed in there when you start to, really dig in.
It really is, which maybe leads to a final thought for you, our listener, to consider as you reflect on all this. Looking at that range, the kinds of serious topics Kara Swisher discusses in that episode, according to the source, and then this huge, extensive list of tools and features on the Podbean page, from AI content generation to monetizing live streams. What does that combination tell you? What does it suggest about the direction that media, these important conversations, and the platforms enabling them are all heading?
That's a really good question. Definitely something to mull over. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.